Does the government make business people rich? If you've got a business, you didn't build it. A friend of mine sent me an email as part of a discussion on business. He said in that email, "I suggest that everyone read how robber barons, Carnegie, Stanford, Rockefeller, etc., became rich. Every single one of them was made rich by the government. The story of capitalists rewarded for their hard work is largely a myth." A similar sentiment was put forth by former President Obama, who stated in a speech, "Somebody helped to create this unbelievable American system that we have that allowed you to thrive. Somebody invested in roads and bridges. If you got a business, you didn't build that." The sentiments of my friend and of President Obama are not uncommon. They represent a progressive philosophy that sees the world from a perspective where government comes first and individual accomplishments come second. In other words, you wouldn't have much in the way of individual accomplishments if the government didn't set the stage. In some ways, this sentiment is correct. Obama said, "Somebody helped to create this unbelievable American system that we have that allowed you to thrive." I'm a little surprised that Obama used the term somebody. You should know perfectly well who those somebodies were. They were the founding fathers who set up a system of government whereby the government was subservient to the people, the government was limited, the government was based on laws, and laws applied equally to all citizens. That system was better than the systems set up in other countries, and that system allowed the economic engine of America to flourish. How do we know our system was better? We know it because other countries throughout the world with hardworking people, fertile land, and natural resources did not develop the economic engine that was developed in the United States. It was not that Americans were any better than, say, Argentinians. It was that our system was better. So yes, given that the Founding Fathers established a government that had limits on its power, that was not overly corrupt, that applied laws equally to all citizens, and that was elected by the people, we can at least say that the government created the environment for capitalists to thrive. Obama goes on to thank the roads and bridges the government paid for, as if somehow those roads and bridges had much to do with it. Capitalism thrived in the United States because of the system of government established by our Founding Fathers, not because the government built roads and bridges. But that is very different than saying the government made business people rich. Creating a system that allows business people, entrepreneurs, capitalists, and even robber barons, as my friend likes to call the industrialists of the early part of the last century, to succeed and flourish does not mean that they will. You still need people to step up to the plate and take advantage of the system, to develop the strategy, to raise the capital, to build the factories, to employ the people, and to create wealth through capitalist business activities. And we know that can only be accomplished by individuals working in their own self-interests in free markets. No government department has ever created the economic success of business people in the United States or in any other country. Every country has a government, but not every country produces entrepreneurs, capitalists, and wealth. It is true that in other countries the governments have indeed made people rich. The socialist and communist governments around the globe have enriched the cronies and sycophants who support those in power. Do you think anyone in Russia could become a billionaire without favors from the government? Or China? Or even Mexico? But as for making people rich in America, the government has a very minimal role, and today one could even say government rules and regulations hinder the creation and success of business enterprises. Saying the government made entrepreneurs rich is like saying the government made McDonald's rich because it let the farmers raise cattle for beef patties by allowing the cows to graze on public lands. The reality is that entrepreneurs and capitalists tend to be hard-working, savvy opportunists who take advantage of opportunity and in many cases risk everything. My friend points to a book as proof of his statement that the government made all the entrepreneurs rich. He says, "There are many books on American history and robber barons, but one of the latest is Americana by Boo Srinivasan, one of those Silicon Valley guys who has surprising details on the history of capitalism and democracy." Srinivasan's book is a good read for anyone who really doesn't know much about U.S. history, and I very much like his writing style of focusing on technological innovation and discovery. And yes, he does make the point that the development of certain industries requires government cooperation and support. But then, that is only obvious. Railroads need land, oil companies need drilling rights, ships need ports and access to government waterways, and factories need electricity. But to give the government credit for creating businesses goes way too far. We need the government to build highways, but saying the government created J.B. Hunt Transportation, revenues of $7 billion, really does the Hunts a significant disservice. I would suggest that the greatest government contribution to American business is the government system that the Founding Fathers gave us. Private enterprises are capable of building infrastructure without the government. Oil companies have built harbors. Freight companies have built shipping terminals. Logging companies have built roads. Mining companies have created electrical generating plants. Airlines have built air terminals. Private enterprises have even built bridges. But that system still needs individuals or groups of individuals to step up to the plate and take advantage of market opportunity. Mark Zuckerberg didn't create the internet, but he created Facebook. Henry Ford didn't build the roads, but he created the Model T. Bill Gates didn't create the personal computer, but he created the operating system. The internet operates under rules and regulations passed by the government. The roads are built typically by the government. Personal computers are manufactured and sold under rules and regulations passed by the government. But the government did not make Bill Gates, Henry Ford, or Mark Zuckerberg rich. They became rich by producing a product or service that served the needs of customers. The government does not, and never has, made business people rich. Rich business people are the result of capitalist enterprises providing products and services that customers demand. However, my friend is correct for certain people. The government has made a lot of people rich. Not businesses people, but politicians and the people who support those politicians in exchange for government favors, handouts, and special treatment. If you want to complain about the government making people rich, perhaps that is the place to start.